be dealing with our area of a triangle. Okay, I'm going to try and see what I can fit in here for the area of a triangle. Okay. So area of a triangle, we have a formula that we always use for area of a triangle. Now, some of you are going to write it a little bit differently. So I'm going to write both ways, but you must do the one that you feel comfortable with or the one that you're working on in school. Okay. So when we're dealing with the area of a triangle, we either say half base times height, or we say our area is equal to base times height over 2. They mean the same thing. So it doesn't matter which one you use, they mean exactly the same thing. All right. Who can tell me what is super important about that base and that height? So just for anyone who hasn't done this in class yet, that B stands for base and that H stands for height. Who can tell me what's really important about that base and that height? Take a guess if you're not entirely sure. No answers coming in. Okay. Naledi, what do you think is super important about that base and the height?
Ma'am, I just ask, why did we put the half?
Oh, so because when we're working out a rectangle or a square, so like imagine this was a square, right, like that, then this would be my base and this would be my height. So if I was working out my area, it would be base times height. But we only want half of that because we only care about this part of that sort of square. And that's why we divide it by 2.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Haven't done this in school yet. Okay, that's not a problem. Let me explain it to you then. So when we have a base and a height in triangles, the most important thing is that they are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so our base has to be perpendicular to our height. Now, perpendicular means it needs to be at 90 degrees. Okay, so when we're working with our formulas of our different triangles, we have to keep in mind that our base has to be perpendicular to our height. It's like a non-negotiable. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these triangles and see if we can identify some things. If I'm looking at this triangle over here, okay, if this line here was my base, this is at 90 degrees, okay? So this is my perpendicular height. So that would be my base, and that would be my height. Let me do it in a different color so that you'll be able to see a little bit clearer. Okay, so that's my base, and that's my height. Now let's have a look at this triangle that's chilling on the left. All right. If I wanted to make this the base of my triangle, and I am wanting to work out its area, they would have to give me the perpendicular height. Okay. So in a picture like this, you would get a little dotted line that looks like that has a right angle. And that line there would be our height. So it has to be perpendicular to the base. Okay. If we have a look at this obtuse triangle down here at the bottom, this line over here, oh gosh, sorry, not very neat. This line over here, that would be our base. Okay. And then if we were needing our height in this situation, again, it would be an additional line that's coming down here, and that would be our height. Okay, so these are the 3 different triangles that you could be asked. You've got an acute triangle, a right angle triangle, and an obtuse triangle. And in each of those triangles, Those are the different ways you would find your base and your height. All right. So as an example, let's say that my base here was 4 and my height here was 2. Okay, if I wanted to find the area of this triangle, I would say my area is equal to half of 4 times 2. And I can put that straight into my calculator exactly like that, and I will see that it would be equal to 4. Okay, so when we're working out our area of triangles, we care about the base, we care about the height, we divide it by 2, and the most important thing is that our base has to be perpendicular to our height. Now, before I move on, does anyone have any questions about what is currently on the board? Anything that they don't understand? Anything they want clarification on? Please either ask in the chat or pop your hand up for me. Yeah, Ms. Sipo, how can I help?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, like, when do you use the theorem of hypotenuse?
Okay, so a hypotenuse is when we have a right angle triangle. Whenever there's a right angle triangle, so there's a right angle triangle. Whenever we have a right angle triangle, we have a hypotenuse. Our hypotenuse is the longest side of a right angle triangle. If we're looking for that, then we would use the theorem of Pythagoras.
Okay, so do you use it in the area formula, or do you use it for the whatever?
Perimeter?
Yeah,
so
perimeter.
It depends on the question, but generally, well, no, it could also be used in area. The only time we use Pythagoras is if we're wanting the length of a specific side. So sometimes we have to use Pythagoras in order to find the area, and sometimes we have to use Pythagoras in order to find the perimeter. But we only use Pythagoras to find the side of a triangle. Why did I put the half? Okay, so the reason I put a half is if you imagined that these were, the easiest one to work with is this right angle triangle, okay? If we imagined that instead of a triangle, we had a square, all right? If I was working out the full area of that square, it would be height times base, or base times height, or length times breadth, however you want to remember it, right? But we don't care about that entire square. We only care about this half of it, and that's why we're dividing it by 2, or saying half of. Okay. Madal, which formula are you talking about? You know? As a Sipo, how can I help?
Sorry, ma'am. You said that the height must be perpendicular to the base. So how do you, if they gave you a number that was not perpendicular to your height, but was outside your triangle, what do you call that?
So like this dotted green line over here, this one over here is outside of my triangle, but that line is perpendicular to where my base is. Do you see it?
Like, yes, ma'am. But then the thing is, what if they give you a number that's not perpendicular to that? How do you accommodate that to your formula if they ask you to?
You can't work out the area of a triangle if you don't have the perpendicular height. So like in this triangle down here, if they didn't give us this, if they gave us 4, 2, and 6, for example, we can't work out the height of that triangle. Well, you can later in high school, but not in grade 9.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because we have to use trigonometry. So it just depends on the question as to how many marks it would be worth. Okay. Anavoyo, how can I help? Okay. Okay, let's go to our first example. have a look here. Looking at this triangle, right? You have, this one has been made as easy as possible for you because there's only 2 pieces of information. But I want us to get into a good habit of things. So if we have a look here, we've got our base, okay? And if we look here, we've got our perpendicular height. So we've got a base and we've got a height. So if I'm wanting to work out the area of this triangle, I would say that my area is going to equal half base times height. I'm just going to write that. You don't have to write that. Okay. So my area is going to be half of 7 times 8. So I'm going to have 28. Now, when we're dealing with area, what units would we use? When we're dealing with area, so up till this point, we've only done perimeter. So we've only had a specific unit. What do we do now that we're dealing with area? It is in centimeters. Just think carefully what that would look like. Good. Centimeters squared. So whenever we're dealing with area, we have a square. So it's not always going to be centimeters because it's going to be dependent on whatever unit is there, but it's always going to be squared. Okay. So what we're looking at here is this 8 is our base, right? And the 7 over here is our perpendicular height. See how it's perpendicular? It shows this over there. All right. If you want to take a screenshot, please feel free to take one, and then we're gonna pop on to our next example. Yeah, Nico, how can I help?
So, ma'am, I just wanted to ask, since we have like the 90-degree angle, don't we like calculate it?
What are you wanting to do with the 90-degree angle?
Do we calculate it or we just leave it like that, ma'am?
No, so that 90-degree angle is just telling you that they're perpendicular. That's the only purpose it's serving. So as long as we know that they're perpendicular, then we can just forget about it from that moment.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. Kadri, how can I help?
Ma'am, if 8 centimeter is the base, then why did you first write 7 centimeter?
Oh, it doesn't matter. So when we're multiplying things, the order doesn't matter. So you can write this in whatever order you're wanting. But if you're wanting it in the order that's written above, we would just say 8, 7. But when we multiply numbers like this, it will all work out the same.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. So how can I help?
Ma'am, do we always have to use the brackets? Do we always have to include them?
No, you can write it however you would like. So you could have also said half times 8 times 7, or you could say half times 8 times 7, all the same. So whichever one you're comfortable with. All right, example 2, let's go. Okay. I'm not going to help you. I want you to use your brains. I want you to think about something important. Hint, 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 there's a trap here. And then I want you to find the area of this triangle. Guys, am I breaking up?
There and there, but we can still understand you. I don't know whether it's just because of my network, because also the rain is on me, so, but I can hear you
Okay.
clearly on my side.
Okay. Okay, so singing, you can hear me clearly. All right. Okay, Nasipo, how can I help?
Ma'am, can we give the answers yet?
Sure, tell me what I should do in a situation.
Okay, ma'am. So you start by A, which area is equal to a half times 10 times 8.
You are in my trap. Let's have a look why. Is this
Oh, that's
10? Is this, yeah, is that 10? Is it perpendicular to this 8? Are they at 90 degrees to each other? Those of you who are giving me 40, you are falling for the trap. Don't fall for the trap. There we go, Marcus.
Guys, I cannot hear teacher Jan at this moment. I don't know if you on your side you can hear her.
I can hear you guys perfectly.
I think it's because I don't know whether it's glitches or something, because sometimes you get stuck and then for like 1 minute or less than 1 minute, and then you come back again. It could be our network. We're not sure what's going on.
Okay. I'll see if I can try me a second, because I can hear you guys, but if you can't hear me, then that's a problem.
No, we can hear you. It's just sometimes there's some glitches, not that they cannot understand. They can understand and make out what you are talking about, and they are allowed to rewatch the lesson also. I think it's just network on everybody, because some people can hear you clearly. Some are saying there's glitches, and I'm saying also that there's some glitches there and there, but I can hear what you are teaching.
Okay. Okay, let's go through this question, and then when I pop the next question on, I'll try and sort out the network issue. Okay. So if we're having a look here, this 10 is not perpendicular to the 8. So that is not my height. This is not my height. Okay. This is my height. So we first have to find that height. So we're going to say that our height is equal. We're going to do it with Pythagoras. Okay. So let me write it the way that you were comfortable with. All right. H squared plus 8 squared is equal to 10 squared Pythagoras. All right, so 8 squared is equal to 100 minus 64. So h squared is equal to 36, which means h. And then to find our area, we're going to say 6 times 8. Well, let me keep it the same. Half of 8 times 6, which is going to give us 24 centimeters squared. Okay.
Don't panic, Tumelo. I'm sure you can hear. It's just sometimes it does cut, but I think it depends on your network, because through this whole question, I could hear teacher Jan. So it could be that it's different networks that we are using. And
Yeah.
remember that this lesson is recorded, my peeps. Take screenshots and you're allowed to rewatch the lesson after 24 hours. So you'll be good. You'll be great.
How did I get from 6 to 36? So what we did here is we square rooted both of those to go from h squared to h, and then 36 square rooted to go to 6. Okay. Okay, but guys, I've checked my connection and my connection is solid. It's not lagging.
I don't think that it's on your side. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
that,
don't
like,
think it's. I feel like people are worried that it's my side, but I
no,
don't
I
think
think
it is.
in
That's
every
what I'm
single
trying
one
to
of
say.
them, in every single one of them, everyone is sitting and having network issues. Because I'm also having network issues, even though I have Wi-Fi and everything. Sometimes I can hear you. Sometimes there's some cuts in between, but most of the time I can hear you clearly.
So don't panic. Oh yeah, thanks, thanks, Tanya. Because I can double check my network and it is fine. So I think it's not coming from my side. Why is the 6 and 8 in brackets? It's just it's easier to put them in brackets when we're multiplying, but you don't have to. You can also say half times 8 times 6. All of that's fine. Just trying to see what other questions, if I've missed anything. Okay. All right. No problem, Cynthia. Okay. Let's try this next one over here. See how you go. Oh, the formula is just the formula for a triangle. So when we're dealing with a triangle, our area is equal to half base times height. Tumelo, you know I love you, but you need to bring the panic down and just calm yourself a little bit, because you're making everyone in the chat, you're like riling them up into a panic, which isn't helpful for anyone. So just bring it down. Just bring it down a notch. Okay. All right, I'm just going to see if the hands that are up at the moment are just to answer this question, or if they would ask a question. I'm just going to see that first. Yeah, so if you're trying to find a height or any sides that we're going to be marked wrong, it depends. When you're using Pythagoras, you have to give a reason. If you don't give a reason, they will mark you wrong, but you might only lose like one thing. All right, Singer, I'm coming. Singer, how can I help?
Ma'am, I would like to ask, ma'am. So every time when we have to work out the height first, we no longer use the hypotenuse side.
So that's what we do here. So when you're finding the height isn't the hypotenuse, because the hypotenuse is always the longest side of a triangle.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we use the hypotenuse in trying to find the other side, but we generally won't be looking for the hypotenuse if we're looking for the height.
So ma'am, we kind of substitute the height with the hypotenuse thing.
No, because they're two very different things. Okay, so if we're having a look at this triangle up at the top, this line over here is our height, and this line over here is our hypotenuse. That's always our hypotenuse. Our hypotenuse is just the longest line in a triangle. So we're not substituting them because they're two different lines. But we use the hypotenuse when we're looking for another side with Pythagoras. That's the only thing.
Oh, okay. So like
Okay.
I'm talking about like ma'am, the part where you were like, where's this part now? Like area equals a half, and then the brackets 8 times 6, ma'am. So we no longer use the 10. We kind of lose it.
Well, so we're using the 10 in order to find our height. That's the only time we're using the 10. It's just to find the height.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Lutando, why? What's happening? What are you feeling left out about? Yeah, you got to be careful, Marcus. So there is actually only one number that's happening on the base here. I want you to like be very careful about what's going to be your base and what's going to be your height. I am trying to trick you in this question. I'm being very honest about that. I am trying to trick you here. So I just want you to think like very, very basically, like which is our base. So like, let's have a look at this. Let's talk about it together. In this triangle, which line is our base? Like what would our value of our base be? Okay, nice. There we go. Good. That's a solid start. Okay. So our base is this guy over here. Okay. So we know that that's our base. All right. Don't worry, Bruce. Don't worry. Okay. And then if I'm looking for my height, it's always going to be the perpendicular line. That's why I kept on stressing in the beginning that the height has to be perpendicular to the base. It's super important. Okay. So that line is going to be my height. The dotted line is the height. So we don't add the 11 and the 9 because this 9 over here is not part of my triangle. I'm wanting to find the area of this triangle here. And on that triangle, the 9 has nothing to do with it. Only the 11. Okay. And then we think about our formula for a triangle. So our formula for a triangle, our area is equal to half base times height. Okay. Now we know that our base is 11. So we can say half of 11. What is my height? Do I have a value for my height? Do I have any number for my height right now? No. Okay. If I don't have a value for my height, but I do have a right angled triangle, what do I do? Height there. Yes. There we go. There we go. Okay. So when we have a right angled triangle and we're trying to find the height, we're going to use Pythagoras. So I'm just going to pop that in over here. Okay. So this is my height that I'm looking for. So I'm going to say my height squared plus 9 squared equals 15 squared because of Pythagoras. Okay, so my height squared is going to be 15 squared, which gives us 225 minus 81. So 225 minus 81, which gives us 144, which means our H is 12. And then we get to just pop that into our top formula. So now we know that our height is 12. And then we can just calculate that into our calculator and we will get 66 centimeters squared. Yeah, if you said PS instead of H, that's totally fine. Totally, totally fine. Okay. Anyone who has questions, pop your hands up. I'm happy to answer them here. Just pop your hand up for me if you want to ask questions. Karen, how can I help?
Oh, ma'am, I'm still kind of confused on why you left the 17 out.
Okay, so the 17 is just the side of our triangle, but it's not perpendicular to our 11. So because they're not at 90 degrees to each other, the 17 doesn't give us any help when looking for our area. So when we want the area of a triangle, we only care about the base and we only care about the height. And those two lines have to be perpendicular to each other.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Khalilo, how can I help?
I wanted to ask, why did you not use the 9?
Okay, so when I'm looking for the area of this triangle in here, okay, I want this area in here of that triangle, okay? And in that triangle, is the 9 part of that pink triangle at all? Oh, I've lost you. Hold on, let me just unmute you again.
No, it's not.
No, okay, and because
Yeah.
it's not part of it, that's why we're not including it.
Oh, okay. Now I
Okay,
understand.
no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, we will do brain break after this. Don't you panic. I just had to calm the vibes after Tumelo panicked everyone in the chat. Yeah, exactly. The nine was to help us. Yes, we do love Tumelo. There's no hatred going his way. I'm just giving him a hard time. Asatipo, how can I help?
I'm sorry, ma'am. You said 9 is not part of the triangle, and we're only using the 11 centimeters. But you used the 9 centimeters when you were trying to find the perpendicular. Why is that so?
Because the 9 is part of this blue triangle over here. And so if I'm looking for my height is part of that blue triangle. And the 9 and the 15 are part of that blue triangle.
I still don't understand, ma'am.
Okay, can you try and explain where the confusion is coming from?
Ma'am, in our main equation, that is area equals a half times base times height. We were using 11 since we are trying to find out the area of the obtuse triangle.
Yeah.
And then you said we are not going to use 9 centimeters because it's not part of the triangle. But then when we were trying to find the height of the perpendicular triangle, you use 9 centimeters instead of the 11 centimeters that we were going to use originally.
Okay, so when we're looking for the height, we're looking at this triangle over here, right?
Yes,
looking at that right angle triangle, that's how we find the height, because our height is sitting on this side over here. So in this blue triangle, this PS is my height, PQ is one of my sides, and SQ is my hypotenuse. And so in that separate blue triangle, we use the 9 and the 15 in order to find this height, because we need that height in our area formula.
Oh, okay, Mama, I understand it now. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, last 2 questions, and then we're going to jump down to a brain break. Nasipo, how can I help?
Ma'am, if for the formula you said height squared is equals to 9 plus 15, is that incorrect?
Yeah, it would be incorrect, because we need to say heights. If you wanted to do it straight from height squared, you would say height squared is equal to 15 squared minus 9 squared, not plus. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Cynthia, how can I help?
Hello, ma'am. So you said that like it's 1/2. How did you get 66 centimeters?
So it's just all of this multiplied together. So 1/2 times 11 times 12 gives me 66.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys, we're gonna these types of questions, you need a statement and a reason. So no, because this isn't geometry. So we don't need a statement and a reason. The only time we have to have a reason is when we're talking about Pythagoras. We're going to quickly do a very short brain break. I think we're going to have to just do one of them. And then we're just going to try and do one more question. And then we'll come back. Okay. Short brain break. And then we'll go back. Those of you who are new, this is Brian. Brian helps us halfway through the lesson just to give our brains some space. And then we jump back into the math. Okay. Okay, so your question today is this guy over here. If they say determine with reasons, generally that's on geometry. That's great. So I'm wanting to know this box over here. These boxes down here are just to help you, but I want to know what's in that box over there. Oh, we're getting a whole bunch of different answers. I love how Tamila is saying trust now. Okay, let's see. So our lollipops were definitely right. Our lollipops are 3. Okay, so the lollipop is 3. So that's a 3. So if that's 3 plus 3, that gives us 6, which means our bell is 1. Okay, which means Santa is 2. And I think some people forgot about some BODMAS situations happening over here, but that multiplication has to happen first, because multiplication happens before anything else. So our question at the moment is 3 minus 1 plus 1 times 2. So that 1 times 2 has to happen first. We're going to have 3 minus 1 plus 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Not 6. Yeah. BODMAS, guys. BODMAS. Kira, I thought if there's one thing from this lesson that you should have learned is not to trust Tumelo. Okay. let's pop on back to a question. I think let's rather try one of these ones. Okay. All right. I'm going to help you with like little pieces of this, but I'm not going to do the whole thing for you. I want you to think. I want you to use your hands, okay? When I'm dealing with this triangle, this case over here would be my base, right? And this over here would be my perpendicular height. This 14 centimeters goes all the way from M to P. Just want you to keep that in mind while you work this out. I don't want you to fall for my trap. Okay. So this 14 centimeters goes all the way from M to P. But my base is only from M to N. Give it your best go. Let's see how you do. Try your best. I can tell you it's not straightforward. You will have to do something before you can get your answer. Yep, you're absolutely going to need Pythagoras. Pythagoras will be your friend when finding the base. Unati, I do see your hand. I promise I will come to you as soon as we answer this question. I'm just going to give everyone some time to get there. So just to be super clear, I'm looking for that purple area. No problem. So all I'm asking for in this question is to find the area of that purple area. So basically the area of that purple triangle. Oh, we got some answers coming in. I'm gonna give you guys 1 more minute. It's okay, Kieran, don't panic. I'm gonna give you guys 1 more minute and then Unati is gonna talk us through this one. Yeah, so Marcus, I would probably say NP squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared, but it's fine to say that. But I think it would probably be better in this case to say NP because it's not our height, because our height is the 8. Okay, Unati, we are all yours. Tell me how I can start this question.
Ma'am, so first you need to find the base for that triangle.
Okay.
So ma'am, you say NP is equal to, not sure about this part, but I use 10 and 8.
Okay, so NP squared is equal to
10 squared plus 8 squared.
Is it going to be plus?
No.
So remember, when we're working with Pythagoras, it's always equal to our hypotenuse. So we would say NP squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So then when we move it over, think about what is going to happen with my sign.
Okay. Ma'am, so can I continue?
Yeah, of course.
So since it's NP squared, plus 8 squared equals to 10 squared Pythagoras. Then it'd be NP squared is equal to 64 plus 100.
Okay, let's just think
Minus
about that. Yeah, what's going to be minusing from what?
100 is going to be minusing 64.
100 minus 64. There we go. Okay, cool. So NP squared is equal to what?
NP squared is equal to 36.
Good.
Then you're going to
So
square root that.
Good.
And get NP is equal to 6.
Good. Okay, so now we know that this is 6 centimeters. Cool. Cool, cool, cool.
And then, ma'am, now you're going to calculate the area. So you're going to say A is equal to a half base times height.
Good.
So A is going to be equal to a half times 6 times 8.
Oh, no.
Ma'am, what?
Is 6 my base?
Ma'am, 7.
Are we, like, do you see why
Ma'am,
though?
is it not 7? Yes,
Yes.
ma'am, because we're looking for the base of MN.
Okay, but is 7 plus 6 14?
No. Ma'am, it's 13.
Okay. Unati, sweetheart, I'm just gonna stop you from this moment just because I don't want to create confusion for everyone else, not because you aren't doing a great job. Okay, I just don't want people to get confused from this point.
Yeah, well done, Unati.
Yeah, that was
I think
really good. You
really
did a lot
good.
of the hard work there. So what Unati found for us is using Pythagoras, we were able to get the 6 centimeters over here. Okay, we needed that 6 centimeters because this whole distance from M to P is 14 centimeters, but our base is only from M to N. So if I want to know what MN is, it's going to be 14 minus 6, which is going to give me 8. Okay, so MN is going to be 8 centimeters. So if I'm looking at the area of this triangle, I'm going to say half of 8 times my height, which we already know is 8. And so we get A is equal to 32 centimeters squared. Okay. So we had to do Pythag in order to find the base of our triangle. That was what we needed to do Pythag for. We've got a couple more minutes. If you have questions, please pop your hands up and we'll go through them. Singa, how can I help?
Oh, sorry, ma'am. I had my hand up to answer.
Oh, okay. No problem. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Bruce, how can I help?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, ma'am, like for the first question, ma'am, I used h squared plus 10 squared equals to 8 squared, but I still got the same answer, which was 6. Is it still fine?
You used?
Ma'am, I said h squared plus 10 squared equals to 8 squared, and then h squared equals to 100 minus 64, and then h squared equals to 36, and then h is equal to 6.
Okay, so you were just lucky in your second step that you actually made a mistake. But your first line, if you had worked with that like 100% correctly, it wouldn't have come to the right answer. When we're working with Pythagoras, if you're wanting to do it in one step, with your side,
Yes,
fine, but it must always be your hypotenuse minus the other side.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, the height was given on the diagram. I've tried to highlight things so that you can see it a little bit better. But that blue highlight over here, this is our base of our triangle. And this green highlight over here, that's the height of our triangle. And so this is our height and this is our base. And we just multiply them together. Yeah, it's the last question for the day.